Hello, this is Sandra. I hope this is working. I think it is. I am Sandra Champlain, first of all, and I just was overcome with this wave of sadness. And I don't know if you're feeling it too. It happens at random times. We're all housebound right now and seem to be doing pretty well. And actually, this past month, I've been doing great. I've been keeping busy and I'm with my mom, and I'm super grateful for that. She's 78 years old today. It's her birthday, and I've got a lot going on. I've always said, if I have some downtime, there's things I want to create, there's things I want to do, and I'm doing them all right now. But as I was sitting, enjoying my mom's birthday with her, I just got this wave of sadness over me, and my eyes filled with tears, and I started thinking, like, what is going on? And then I remembered some research that I did, probably about 10 years ago after the death of my dad. When my dad died, and even before he died, I was feeling an all-time low. He had had cancer. There were arguments within the family. He passed away, and I really sunk into a deep, deep, dark place. I wasn't ready to end my own life, but I could certainly understand people that hit that level of darkness, how they would think that that was the best way out. So some little light bulb went off in my brain and it said, this must be what grief is. And I started researching grief, why we feel it, why it has to hurt so bad, why regular sound normal people would become monsters and fighting with each other. And this whole world just opened up to me that I didn't previously know existed. And the reason I'm choosing to come on now, and this is just a spur of the moment video because I'm feeling it, because I'm in it right now, is to just compare grief to what many of us are feeling and don't realize it. The average human being doesn't know much about grief. And I think eventually the older we get, or if there's some tragedy in our life, we learn what it is, what it feels like, but we don't necessarily get the training of what it is, why we have it, and what we can do to move through it. So because I am feeling it right now, I thought, what the heck? I'm going to just come on live and talk about it because you may be feeling a lot of the same stuff. And what I've found happens is for a human being who doesn't understand grief. So it can be from a death of a loved one. It can be of the fear of the unknown. It can be from a divorce, you feel grief. It can be emptiness syndrome when you have your family together and your kids go off to college. It could be told that you've got cancer or some life-threatening disease. There's many things. You could lose your job. And there's many things that will kick in this process called grief. If we don't know what it is, what happens is we think it's us. We think there's something wrong with us. We can go on a deep, dark path, overeating, over drinking, drugs, suicide, because our mind can get the best of us. So while I'm here, I want to talk about what grief is, because if I'm feeling it right now, I can believe that somebody watching it is feeling it right now as well. And we've heard there's this prediction in the next few months that there could be 77,000 suicides. And I believe this is just talking about in the United States. And so globally, it's a real, real problem. Not to mention, people will be turning to drugs. People will be turning to alcohol. I know my mom and I are drinking more Chardonnay than we ever have. So to talk about grief today, what it is, what we're probably feeling right now, tying it in with COVID-19 and what we can do about it. So the first thing I need to say is grief is a natural byproduct that goes through our bodies, whether we want it to or not. So it's not something we can just turn off. Whenever we have some massive change, our body goes into shock. And so we need to prepare for a new future. So imagine that baby bear gets separated from mama bear, okay? And say something happens to mama bear, baby bear will have to, it's like a huge wake up call to the system. It no longer has the security, no longer has the connection. It's thrown into kind of a whirlwind, and it has to get its feet on the ground again and learn how to survive on its own. So we humans have it similar. So if we lose, I mean, loss of a life is really bad. And for those of us who have had a loved one die, it's extreme, because I think the more you love, the more pain you feel. Especially now, a lot of people have families, a lot of people have loved ones that are in the hospital. I mean, it's awful what is happening in the world. But what happens inside our chemistry is we have these things called neurotransmitters that run throughout our body. Things like dopamine and serotonin, and there's things that run our sleep cycle, and all these different things. So if you can imagine, a car needs different fluids to survive: brake fluid and gasoline and oil and windshield wiping fluid and all that stuff. I'm not a mechanic, but there's a lot of stuff. Well, our bodies have it by way of these things called neurotransmitters. When we have one of these massive shocks because of grief, something happens, and it could be all those things that I mentioned or others you might feel. All of a sudden, it's a shock to the system. Our neurotransmitter level, our healthy neurotransmitter level, is depleted. So say you've got a full glass, that's water, of neurotransmitters. It could get depleted to as much as 4, 5, 10%. It can cause depression and sadness. It can cause anger and cause mood swings. It can cause, this, like right now, I'm just feeling this waves of sadness that I could cry right now. That's how I feel. We could lose our memory. I take vitamins every morning, and I tell you, the past few days, I couldn't remember if I've taken them or not. So I've had to do this little ritual. Did I take it? Didn't I take it? So I don't feel 100% in my brain. Our perception is off too. So you could be having a conversation with somebody, and you say something and they say, no, but you said something else. So you have this disagreement on how you see things. So our perception's off. And there's a whole bunch of things that are tied in with that. So I think that our nation, our world is experiencing grief and not knowing about it. So I want to go through some of the things that I've written in my book. And I've got the PDF file of my book in front of me just to go through, just to kind of give a little hope, take a little of the pressure off that it's you, that you should be feeling another way than you do. That is a really hard thing. We think we should be able to rise to the occasion. We think we should be better than we are. I've had some friends who have taken their own lives, and I can only think that in their mind, they thought it was the best thing to do, and they couldn't deal with anything else. And I really think it's because they've had extra low levels of these neurotransmitters. Normally, when people are grieving, sometimes with severe grief, they will go to a doctor and get prescribed something. Well, we can't leave the house. And so and I'm not saying medication is always the way for everybody, because I don't think it is, but certainly for severe cases it is. But I want to tell you a little bit about the grieving process. So I'm going to be looking at my book that's in front of me. Not only did I study grief 10 years ago when my dad died, but I got on a journey, actually even before that, about looking for any evidence of the afterlife based on my own fears, because we're all going to die someday. So I very secretly was on this journey. Long story short, after Dad died, I decided to come out with the information that I had about grief and the afterlife, actually. And I was really afraid to do so, thinking, what are people going to think of me? But I was courageous, because 3 months after Dad died, I created an audio called How to Survive Grief. And it was just at that point, what I had learned about the grieving process, and free, just posted it on Facebook. And that was back in the day where I only had not many friends. And it went, I wouldn't say viral, but over 3,000 people had shared it in just a very short amount of period of time. And I started getting emails from people that not only did it help their pain and understand, but then I got emails that I no longer, I was going to kill myself, and I chose not to because of your words. So then I felt like I had a moral responsibility to share. Long story short, I titled my book, We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death, because I never believed in this. Very strategically, I snuck in chapter 10, which is called Surviving Grief, because I thought I'm going to give people this information, whether they want it or not, what grief is and how to navigate through it. So that being said, let me go through some of this. And if you're watching this on Facebook, you'll see that I put some links. I put a link in for How to Survive Grief, that audio, and then also the PDF of my book. It's being sold on Amazon, so if you want a hard copy, you certainly can get that. But if you just want to read it, yeah, because it's going to take a while to get from Amazon, but you can just read it, the free PDF, the link is there. And then also I've recorded it in audiobook format. It's available on wherever you buy audiobooks, but also if you want a free copy, if you go to my website, and there's a link for it too on WeDon'tDieRadio.com, and you click on store, there's a link for the audiobook. $20 that it says there. Just type in FREE, which is free, and you can listen to it. Okay, so we're going to just go through this together, and I thank you for watching, and feel free to, if you want to be along for this journey, I'm happy that you are, but this is going to stay on Facebook, and I'll share it wherever I can, so you can always revisit it. But chapter 10 on surviving grief, there's a quote from Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the telephone. And this starts off the chapter: when one door closes, another door opens. But we often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the ones which open for us. For me, I went through the darkest period of my life around the time of my dad's death, did the research, and eventually it's turned into the best thing that's ever happened to me. Because not only am I sharing this information, I've got a worldwide radio show, I'm helping people live a good life, helping people believe. You don't have to believe in the afterlife side of what I do. Be open to it is what I say, but over the last many, many, many years, in fact, I've got 337 interviews with people. Just be open to the fact that we do go on, but just stay tuned about the grief, okay? Here's the actual definition of grief: is a deep, prolonged mental anguish, intense sorrow, emotional suffering caused by a loss, a disaster, or a misfortune, especially caused by the death of a loved one. So we can get what we're experiencing right now, being housebound and the fear of our own future and the uncertainty. We're in grief right now. And then I put my own definition of grief: an assortment of terrible feelings that last a long, long time, including shock, disbelief, anger, rage, fear, sadness, sickness, uncontrollable crying to the point of being buckled over in pain with no relief in sight, having a feeling of emptiness that certainly life will never be the same again, not being able to concentrate, having other areas of our life suffer, including massive miscommunications in relationships with our spouses, siblings, friends, and coworkers. Life feels like it's falling apart. So like I said, this is a chemical process that's going through us, but it's got these side effects. And we've lived a normal life, most of us, and we've been happy-go-lucky, most of us. And then all of a sudden, life is not the same. So we think we should be able to change it, but we can't. In the world, normally, there's a lot of death and there's a lot of grief. What's happening now globally is the grief is compounded by these other things: loss of jobs, loss of, just the uncertainty about life. Everybody's got it, even our kids do. So I'm scrolling through because I'm not going to talk too much just about death. But I want to just bring up some things. When people grieve, especially over, and this is over a death of someone, because of grief, over 45% of sibling relationships end after a parent has died. Staggering 70 to 80% of marriages end in divorce after a child dies. That's huge. And I can't even imagine what's happening within households right now where people can't have their independence. I think it's normal to be in a great relationship with someone, and part of that is having your own time away. And so maybe you're not right now. So I see at this time, there's probably marriages that are going to come apart, but there might be marriages and relationships that come together. Do you remember as a kid, I know I have siblings, you have a fight and your parents say, you guys stay in there till you work it out. So I'm hoping that relationships are sticking it out and working it out. So with the feelings of grief, we can have shock, anger, fear, denial, sadness, disbelief, numbness. I mean, you could be totally numb to it. I remember the day after my dad died, I was just like numb. And then even at his funeral, I couldn't cry. I mean, completely numb. It was really weird. Thankfully, I've learned this stuff, and I've learned that it's like being on a roller coaster. What are you always told when you get on a roller coaster? Stay buckled up to the end. So grief is a process that we have to ride the waves. There are ways to get through it that are a little easier, that will help build our these neurotransmitters, bring them up to a healthier level. But unfortunately, we gotta stay on this roller coaster to the end. So I'm scrolling through, because like I said, you've got a free copy of it if you click on the link. There are things also, you could be extra hungry, you could be not hungry at all, you could want to sleep all day and not shower for days. Can anybody relate to this? You could lose your energy, your alertness, your concentration, all those things. Symptoms of low serotonin, this is all in chapter 10. You know, like I said, your memory, how I can't figure out if I took my pills or not. Even one of the chapters, one of the paragraphs is saying you can cry at any moment for any reason. You know, you might hear a song and it just snaps you there. You know, I was just playing with my computer not too long ago, and literally this wave of sadness came. And God forbid you watch one of the commercials or something that's a tearjerker on TV. And when you've experienced grief before, there's something about feeling it presently, and it'll ignite the feelings you had before and bring you into a real dark time. So also your mind can speed up. You can start really, I don't want to say fantasizing in like a good way, but your mind is speeding up so much. It could be feelings of guilt. It could be thoughts of the what ifs. You can convince yourself of total gloom and doom. Here's one, because now we're talking that there's a lot of projected suicides coming. So if you feel any of these feelings, this could be, and probably is, because you're feeling grief. Okay. In fact, there was one gentleman who read these things and he said, I read them all and I had them and I realized that it's not me, that this is grief. And this man chose not to end his own life. So for this, I keep sharing. So here's some of the thoughts when you're in deep grief. You are a burden to your family and friends. You have failed and disappointed those closest to you. No one really cares about you. Your children would be better off raised by someone else. Your family would be better off without you. You are going crazy and there's no hope. It would be better for everyone if you weren't around. You would be better off dead, and you should probably kill yourself. If any of those sound familiar, you are experiencing grief. You've got a low level of serotonin. It's not your fault. We're going through something really crappy right now. and it might take some time to get through it, but this is not you. There is nothing wrong with you. Your body, you're going through a side effect of what's called grief. So here we go. First of all, if you're in that level, ask for some help. There are suicide prevention numbers you can call. Have the courage to just pick up the phone and talk to somebody. You have friends. Sometimes the hardest thing is to pick up the phone and call. Kind of like exercising. The hardest thing is to put on those sneakers and get out there. But once you do, you're outside of your own head. My friends, being inside our own thoughts is sometimes the most dangerous place to be. It is anyways, not even just if you're grieving. We wake up in the morning, we don't tell ourselves empowering thoughts. It's just the nature of being human. It takes repeating positive things, doing things, making a phone call, thinking about positive things in your life, thinking about what you're grateful for to get your mind back on track. So we're going to keep going through. I'm just scrolling through. If you see me looking down, you just take a breath, because I don't want to see any suicides, depressions, abuse. I think we can make it through this together. In fact, I know we can, but be involved. There's a lot of things on the internet right now. There's a lot of funny stuff on YouTube. There's a lot of people doing some great things from their house. Myself and a group of friends, we have put together an online Sunday service. It's a non-denominational, semi-church service, but it is cool. It's filled with good music. There's good talks. There's philosophy. I am of the camp that I believe in the afterlife, and two of my friends are, well, actually several of my friends are fabulous mediums. So at the end, we actually do a demonstration of mediumship. So the people that are at the service, and it's held in the Zoom room, can talk to the mediums and their loved ones come through. It's like nothing else. So my website is wedon'tdieradio.com, and you can find all about that. We call that our Sunday gatherings. Let me just scroll through. These are just some other the side effects. You feel stupid, you can't think, you have difficulty making decisions. You feel you're worried about not living up to your normal standards, who you are for people. You can worry about absolutely anything and everything. So let's find some support and some help, okay? I've also written about Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who went through and said there's 5 stages of dying, and they also compare it to 5 stages of grief, which are denial, and that's like, in this case, I can't believe this is happening. No, this isn't happening. This isn't happening. It's just not happening. Anger. I'm pretty happy-go-lucky, but there are times where it's not so pretty. Not so much right now, but I know when my dad died, there was a side of me that came out that I didn't even know existed. Something called bargaining, and you can actually pray to God. If I do this, please take this away. And so you try to bargain. Depression is part of it. And, you know, it hits close to home. We know people that are staying in bed, not showering for days, not going outside. And they're in their head in a deep, dark place. And then finally, the final level is acceptance. It's like, okay, all right, now it's been a month now. Okay, I got it. I'm in the house. What can I do? Let's start cleaning, whatever that is. There's a lot of other of these side effects. I just kind of brushed along. You can read more again in the book or listening to that audio. But here's where we're going to go into, I don't want to say making things right, but making things better, putting ourselves in a stage that will help us bring up those healthy levels of the neurotransmitters. First of all, remember that grief is a normal emotion. Now, it is one of the absolute worst things we're going to have to feel, but it is normal. One of the things also is participate in rituals. So I know some ladies, this is a shout out to my friend Darla and Jennifer, who are getting together on Zoom for cocktail hour. You know, I'm meeting with my friends on Zoom to say hello. We've created an online course, Connecting with Your Soul in the Unseen World is what it's called. We're doing the Sunday service. So we're doing things that like I have to get showered and I have to get ready because I'm going to be on camera. So we've created these rituals. Spending time with others. Now, you may be there by yourself. You may not be. But if you are, spending time with others could be picking up the phone and calling them. Boy, you really do brighten somebody's day when you give. So focus your eyes on service. Talk about your feelings. You know, I think a lot of us want to be brave and not share how we truly are feeling. Talk about your feelings. How is it for you? And there's people that you can trust and just say, you know, are you experiencing this too? And be there for one another. You know, people really love you and want to support you. And sometimes it takes just being the first one to pick up the phone and make that call and get in that conversation. Journaling or writing. Like I said before, one of the worst places to be is in our own head. It's dangerous. The brain wants to give us all these what if scenarios, and they're gloom and doom. And not that this is the truth, but you can look at this time as the worst thing that's ever happened to you, or you can say 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, what if I look back and this was a pivotal time in my life that turned into me doing the best thing that's ever happened? It might be volunteering, it might be helping, it might be starting a project, it might be taking an online course that turns into something else you're doing. Who knows? And is it true? Who knows? but if we put it in our mind that this is going to be a good thing, and no, it doesn't feel like a good thing right now, but that there's a possibility that this turns into something good. I could never foresee that the death of my father could bring anything good, but all the research I did about the afterlife, all the research I've done about grief, and now I can't help but just give it away and share it, because if it helped me, it helped others, and now it's helping hundreds of thousands of people. So I am very, very grateful. So you might want to journal. You might want to write these things down. The things that come out of your head, if you put them on paper, you might not think them again. So just get them out of your head. Or if you don't write things down, type them in your computer or wherever. Exercise can help lift your mood, getting outside and sunlight. Some of us can't. Some of us can go outside on your porch or a deck or patio or something like that. If you can get some fresh air, open a window, do what you can. Even if you can't, and if you can go to a YouTube channel and go on a virtual vacation, go someplace you've never been and start seeing the beauty of planet Earth and get out of your own thoughts for a while. These things, although they sound very simple, what they do is they give your brain and your body kind of a little break. And so if you can imagine these neurotransmitter levels starting to build again. So like I use the example of my glass, imagine the water starting to get filled back up just by doing these things. Things like eating right, taking your vitamins. Let's see, let your emotions be expressed and released. So have you ever heard that expression, what you resist persists? So right now, when I felt this time of sadness, if I were like, nope, I'm not going to feel that, guess what's going to happen? It's going to come back, and it's going to come back double as strong. So if you need a good cry, go do it. If you need to go outside and blow off some steam, do it. If you need to punch a pillow, do it. Better a pillow than a person. Some of this I have written in here is about the death of a loved one, which again, you're free to look at when you have some time. Faith is another thing. I have my own beliefs in faith. You may or you may not, but if you do, look to your faith. You know, have faith that things will change. If you believe in a higher power, in God, the universe, whatever that may be, have faith that things will get better, that you'll learn from it. Like I said, it's been over 20 years that I've been studying the afterlife stuff. I actually started studying it well before Dad passed away. But I know and believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that when we close our eyes for the last time, we open them, and all of our loved ones who have gone before us are there in a world very much like we have right now. And I've given my life to help people believe in that. I'm not going to push anything on you, but if you have faith and you have these beliefs, it's good to concentrate on them in a time of grief. Being active is another thing. If you can find some projects to do, great. Start some projects, start a hobby. Why not, right? It's never too you're never too old to learn something new. Children and animals. Now, you may have a pet and you may have a child. And for me, I don't have a pet or a child, but I've got my mom, who's 78, birthday today. And it's spending more time with the people that we love. You know, I'm very grateful I have my mom. A lot of people don't, but it's spending time now asking stories, hearing some memories, having a lot of laughter. And normally we are so busy in life. And I hear this from parents all the time. My kid grew up so fast and I feel like I missed it because I worked so much. Well, we're home now. So make every moment count, and they're precious, and just look for those little things. Look for those little details that you've never seen before in that person. Play some music, read a good book, call a friend, watch a movie. Those kind of things kind of put your mind, that negative mind that can think feelings of guilt and the what if, can just kind of put it in the back seat for a little while. And when you can engage in something that you enjoy and be concentrating on something else, again, that helps build those healthy neurotransmitter levels up, and it'll help you feel better, and it'll help us move through this grieving process sooner. How's that sound? Okay. So the other thing that I write about is the present moment technique. And if you can be totally present into whatever it is you're doing. If you're listening to music, really listen to the sounds of the guitar or piano or the voice, listen to the words. If you're just sitting there, really, I've got a computer in front of me and I'm looking at the keyboard now, and there's things that I've never really noticed. So I'm like, the percentage sign is above the 5. Never really noticed that. But when we can give our attention to one thing solidly, it's another little break for the mind, that it's not racing. And again, it'll help bring up those, that neurotransmitter level. And I think we are about done with this. Well, here's the quote that I have at the end of this chapter. As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence actually liberates others. This is from Marianne Williamson. And why I think this is important is, you've heard that expression, act as if, or if you smile for 30 seconds, you'll feel better. Maybe you've heard them. I've heard them. But if you play the game, that you feel great. And sometimes it really takes something to generate, because you might be in a family and you're all sitting around, everybody's on their iPad, nobody's talking. And all it takes is one person to spark a situation and get people engaged. And it may be difficult because it may be the last thing you feel like doing, but all of a sudden you'll start feeling better. Everybody will start feeling better. We can create an environment of joy. And in my family here, it's just mom and myself. And I really try to bring fun. Last night at midnight, I was up baking a cake, and I got a couple little presents, and I had wrapped for her. So when she came downstairs, she had a little surprise. Now, it's nothing big and fancy like I would normally try to adorn my mother with, just like a good trip or good something, but just little stuff. And she's like, you always make it fun, Sandra. So it takes something, would have been much easier to just go to bed last night and, wake up today and sleep in. But I stayed up, I baked a cake, like a little kid and I had Disney music playing. And, you know, that's something too. I have some friends that watch Disney movies and they're all adults and they're probably watching this right now. The words in the Disney songs are so inspiring. I have a Pandora account, which is free for anybody in the United States anyways. I'm sure in Europe and other places in the world, you have some other things. But I listen to Disney music and it's so positive. And the same thing with Disney movies. And they're things that kind of touch the soul. They do, and they feel good. And so while not only bringing up neurotransmitter levels, when I play Disney music, say I'm in the bathroom, taking a shower and getting ready, and next thing you know, I'm getting out of the shower and I'm Hakuna Matata, you know, I'm singing along and I'm happy. So then I start feeling happy. And then when I see my mom, I'm all Hakuna Matata. And next thing you know, puts her in a happy mood. And it could take her out of whatever she's thinking. And, you know, life is hard for people. So again, act as if, put that smile on your face, play some music and feel better, you know, even play some of your happiest music. So I'm going to end this right now. I think I've said enough. Again, you can click on, well, several things you can see to click on right now, but my audio, How to Survive Grief, is just 70-minute audio. It's on YouTube. Type in Sandra Champlain, How to Survive Grief. It gives the basics about what grief is and how to move through it, again, to bring up these levels of neurotransmitters. And then there's a link if you want to read the PDF file of my book, We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. It's all yours. And then if you want to listen to the audiobook, there's the link there. Just remember to type in FREE, free. You don't have to pay for it. That's all I have to say for now. So with that, I want to thank you for taking your time and give you the little challenge right now. Is just one thing that you can do to either help yourself or help another person, because everybody's experiencing this at different levels. Even children are. And we want to get through this together. We will get through this together. Okay. I got lots more resources at WeDon'tDieRadio.com. So with that, I wish you a great day and thank you.